On my 30th birthday, I received both good news and bad news. The good news was that my long-lost system had finally returned. It hadn't abandoned me after all. The bad news? I'd redeemed the wrong person. The man I married turned out to be the second male lead, and our child was already 4 years old. The system went blank for a moment. Girl, you're done for. The second male lead's true love has returned. Your husband and your son will both fall helplessly in love with her. You'll end up crushed by disappointment, homeless, and die alone. I don't believe that, I said firmly. The system roared back. Anything is possible. Welcome to History channel. Subscribe to follow all our latest adventures. Story begins. On the table sat a framed photo of the three of us, our little family. Eddie Martinez and I were on either side, each kissing one of Jeremy Martinez's soft, chubby cheeks. Jeremy's eyes were wide open, his laughter pure and innocent, the kind only a child could have. I turned to the system and said calmly, "Impossible. I know Eddie, and I know Jeremy. One was the man I'd loved for 10 years. The other, the child I carried in my womb for 10 long months. In this world, anyone might betray me, but not them." The system practically screamed in frustration. You don't believe me. I'm a system. An all-powerful omniscient system. Apologize to me now, and I'll forgive you. I'll take you away from here. Make you an all-powerful system too. The soup on the stove began to boil. I walked into the kitchen, lifted the lid, and skimmed off the foam floating on top. The broth bubbled and hissed. Over its steady rhythm, I couldn't help but let out a soft laugh. When I first met the system, it was a rookie. A car accident had taken my life. I died unwillingly, clutching at anything I could. "Please," I'd begged. "Save me. I'd never done anything wrong. My death was an accident, cruel and unfair." The system had already been escorting another host, Luna Whitelock, to her next mission. Maybe I looked too pitiful, because it hesitated, then took me along. After dropping Luna off, it brought me to this world. The streets here were bright and crowded, overflowing with life. I hadn't even gotten used to my new body when the system suddenly shrieked. "Crap," Luna stabbed the male lead. "I gotta go. If I don't, he's done for. He's here, by the way. In this crowd, find the one who looks the most broken, the most desperate. That's him. You have to save him. Care for him. Love him. Heal him. I'll come back for you." Then in a flash it vanished. 12 years passed in a blink. I married Eddie Martinez. We had a child. A simple, happy life filled with ordinary warmth. And now it returned, only to tell me I'd targeted the wrong man. What was I supposed to do? Abandon my husband? Stuff my 4-year-old back into my womb? Pretend none of it ever happened? That I'd never loved him? Never met him? Impossible and absurd. The system stomped in fury. "Sophie Powell, you're laughing at me. You don't believe what I say. How could you possibly mistake the male lead?" He was literally glowing, chin tilted at a perfect 45 degrees, tears sparkling like diamonds. "Are you blind?" And suddenly I was 18 again. The moment the system vanished, I stood alone on a bustling street. An airplane sliced through the clouds above, leaving behind a thin silver trail that pointed toward some distant ocean. A tall boy in a blue and white school uniform stood there, head tilted back, tears streaming silently down his face. The crowd's noise faded into a mournful symphony around him. The system shouted in my mind, "He's right there. You can't miss him. Look at him." And I did look. But behind that boy stood Eddie Martinez. Curled up on the ground, knees and arms scraped raw. The pavement beneath him darkened by tears that even the blazing 40-degree sun couldn't dry. He looked up, eyes red-rimmed, face lost and heartbreakingly beautiful. "Tell me," I murmured, "who really looked like the male lead? Could you blame me for choosing wrong?" Eddie was the more shattered, the more human one. Too beautiful in his pain. Since the dawn of time, the second male lead had always been the prettiest. The novels never lied. The system groaned in exasperation. Damn you, face-obsessed fool. The system started again, trying to convince me to leave Eddie Martinez and Jeremy Martinez. Cut your losses, it said. Don't keep walking down a dead-end road. As it grew more agitated, I quickly steered the conversation elsewhere. So, what made you come find me this time? That only made it more excited. Luna Whitelock's getting married to the male lead. Her storylines finished. She refused to return to the real world with me. I froze for a moment, then went back to preparing the vegetables for dinner. She was in a tragedy arc, you know. At first, she was a total mess, wanted to kill the male lead, wanted to die herself. I worked my circuits off coaxing her through that story, and just when we hit the happy ending, boom, she fell in love. She told me love could stop the pain. Yeah, right. If love worked as anesthesia, anesthesiologists would all be out of business. I could practically feel it glaring at me. Ugh, hopeless. Love-brained fools deserve extinction. I nodded absently as I diced scallions. Aha. You're right. Totally her fault. Sophie Powell, you're patronizing me. Was I that obvious? The lock on the front door clicked open. Dinner was almost ready. The system was practically on the verge of tears. Eddie Martinez has already met his white moonlight. Liliana Miller. You'll see. No one cares about you. No one even wants to spend your birthday with you. Before I could answer, a bouquet of scarlet roses appeared before my eyes. Two beautiful faces, one big, one small, peeked out from behind the flowers. Happy birthday, honey. Happy birthday, Mommy. I held the roses and took the card from Jeremy's tiny hands, planting a kiss on his soft cheek. Jeremy puffed up proudly and pouted at Eddie. Told you, Mommy loves me best. She kissed me first. You owe me a lollipop, Daddy. On the card, drawn in bright crayon flowers, were uneven but earnest letters. Happy birthday, Mommy. Be happy every day. Then came Jeremy's sweet, milky voice. Mommy, I'm still little now. But when I grow up, I'll buy you a gold necklace, gold earrings, and gold bracelets. I'll make you the happiest mom in the world. I kissed his forehead, my heart melting. As long as Jeremy is happy and smiling, I'm already the happiest mom. Because only with a Jeremy Martinez in this world could someone like Sophie Powell become a mother. After he ran off to wash his hands, I leaned in and kissed Eddie's lips. I love you most, I whispered. We smiled at each other, an unspoken understanding passing between us. Dinner was warm and lively. The roses sat in the center of the table, their fragrance mingling with the scent of home-cooked food. Eddie peeled shrimp for me, while Jeremy used his chopsticks to drop vegetables into my bowl. He chattered non-stop about his kindergarten adventures, waving his little arms with pride. Later that night, his eyelids drooped, but he still insisted on one more kiss. Mommy, I love you more than yesterday, and tomorrow I'll love you even more. Good night, Mommy. My heart overflowed with love until it hurt. The house was spotless. Eddie's doing. When I returned to our room, he was in the shower. The system suddenly shrieked in my head. Sophie Powell, don't tell me you're moved. He didn't even buy you a cake, or a gift. A man who truly loves you wouldn't forget rituals. I ignored it, flipping open a book instead. Ordinary life doesn't need grand gestures. Love, once lived and shared, settles deep into the bones. Bodies decay, but bones endure. That's a deeper kind of romance. Quiet, lasting, and real. The system huffed again. Those flowers weren't even for you. They were the ones Liliana Miller rejected. A scene flickered before my eyes. Liliana in a white dress, frowning as she shoved the roses into Eddie's hands. I don't want them. He's never bought you roses before, has he? The bedroom door was still open. The scent of roses drifted in, soft and sweet, blurring the smell of dinner with something tender. Eddie had bought me flowers before. I was the one who'd told him not to. Too expensive, I'd said. They wilt too fast. Better to buy potted plants. They bloom again, year after year. Those roses tonight probably cost more than our entire dinner. I smiled faintly. They're beautiful, aren't they? The system went speechless, then muttered. Love-brained fool. Absolutely incurable. Eddie Martinez stepped out of the bathroom, towel draped around his neck, drying his hair. 12 years had only refined him, made him steadier, sharper, more devastatingly attractive. Broad shoulders, a narrow waist, lean muscles hidden beneath a simple home shirt. Even the small red mole at the corner of his eye, the one time never managed to dull, still glowed faintly like an ember. You don't believe me? Then test it. His white moonlight is back. You'll see. He's not interested in you anymore. The hum of the hairdryer died. His hand, still warm from the air, brushed through my damp hair. What are you staring at? Your husband's handsome, huh? Obviously. To prove that Eddie and I were fine, I rose on my toes, wrapped my arms around his neck and kissed him. Then, softly against his ear, I whispered, Jeremy's asleep. Time for our world of two. My hand slipped beneath the hem of his shirt, only for him to catch it midway. Eddie lowered his gaze, his lashes casting a soft shadow over eyes full of gentle restraint. I'm a little tired tonight, he murmured. Tomorrow, okay? When the lights went out, he turned his back to me, his breathing slow and even. He used to hate it when Jeremy was born. Used to complain that our son always ruined our time. Used to laugh out of breath and groan. Why is the night so short? Never enough. Forget work. I just want to love my wife all day. See, Sophie Powell. In the dark, I stared at his back. Then I reached out and wrapped my arms around him. It's fine, I murmured. He's just tired tonight, that's all. The next morning, I helped Jeremy wash up. My little boy woke up with sugar in his veins, every word dripping sweetness. Mommy, I'd give you everything, he said with a giggle. The system snorted. Ask him if he'll share the cookies in his backpack then. Jeremy doesn't have cookies, I said firmly. Eddie and I rarely let him eat sweets. Too young, too much sugar wasn't good for him. He adored anything sweet. One look at cake and he couldn't look away. Once he ate so much his teeth hurt, and he cried until his eyes swelled. Since then, we only bought a tiny cake once a year. For his birthday. He didn't have money, and Eddie would never secretly buy him snacks. I was making egg noodles when the doorbell rang. Eddie went to open it. And just like that our eyes met. Liliana Miller. Eddie's white moonlight. She stood there, framed by the soft haze of morning light and the faint steam from my pot. She looked like a misplaced angel who had wandered into the mortal world. I heard Eddie's voice. What are you doing here? She smiled, bright and teasing, arching a brow at him. Just thought it'd be convenient to drop by. Liliana was stunning. Almond face, flawless fair skin, eyes like glass marbles shimmering with light. Her white dress flowed perfectly, dimples deepening as she smiled. 3 or 4 graceful steps, and she was standing before me. You must be Sophie Powell, she said sweetly. So nice to finally meet you. She blinked at me, her gaze sliding toward the roses on our table. They suit you, she said smiling. The aroma of noodle soup thickened between us. She sniffed delicately. Smells amazing. Mind if I join you for breakfast? I opened my mouth, but Eddie spoke first, stepping to my side. Of course. Sophia always cooks a little extra. Jeremy came running out, wrapping himself around her leg. He tilted his head up, grinning adorably. Aunt Liliana. The noodles tasted a bit bland that morning. Apparently, I was the only one who noticed. The other 3 ate with delight. Before leaving, Liliana handed me a small box. Sorry for intruding, she said sweetly. A little gift to thank you for breakfast. The system screeched. That's a warning shot. A provocation. Sophie Powell, where's your dignity? I sighed. My monthly salary's $3,000. That bottle of perfume, Guerlain's limited edition Cherry Blossom Boulevard, costs $1,000. If your dignity's only worth $1,000, I'm hanging myself on your front door. I pushed the perfume back toward her. It's too expensive. I can't accept it. The system nearly short-circuited, but the perfume stayed on the table anyway. When I stood up, I caught the scent of Liliana's perfume in the air. Cherry Blossom Boulevard. While packing Jeremy Martinez's school bag, I actually found a box of cookies inside. It was beautifully made, embossed with tiny bears and flowers, the kind that screamed expensive. I hadn't even picked it up before Jeremy darted toward me like a firecracker, clutching the bag protectively to his chest. "Mommy, don't touch that. I'll pack it myself." He zipped it shut carefully, eyes firm with a new kind of independence. "Mommy, I'll handle my school bag from now on. You should go to work." No need to ask. The cookies were from Liliana Miller. On the way home that day, Jeremy couldn't resist. He tore the box open and ate one. He chewed like a little hamster, eyes shining. Whatever those cookies were, they must have tasted divine. The system snapped, furious. "Ungrateful brat. He's been bought off with a box of cookies. Did he ever used to keep things from you?" "No. He used to share everything with me. Once, his school gave out egg tarts. He took one bite, wrapped the rest in a napkin, and tucked it into his pocket. When he got home, he ran to me with it. 'Mommy, I saved this for you.' I lowered my gaze. 'He's just growing up,' I murmured. 'He's learning to have his own thoughts. Children can't stay in their nests forever.' Maybe it was time I let go, gave him more space to stretch his wings. Jeremy Martinez wasn't ungrateful. He was just growing. Across the street, the long empty house now had its door wide open. Movers were coming and going, hauling furniture inside. Eddie Martinez and Liliana Miller stood at the doorway, directing where things should go. They disagreed about the placement, and one of the movers scratched his head. "Sir, ma'am, which one do we listen to? Left or right?" Their eyes met, sharing a quiet laugh. In the end, they went with Liliana's choice, the left. I changed into work clothes and came out just as Eddie waved to me. "Babe, Liliana's moving in today. I'll stay here and help. I'll take Jeremy to preschool later. Okay? Can you head to work on your own?" Jeremy ran out, already dressed neatly. He didn't cling to Eddie like he usually did, begging to come along to drop me off. Usually we went everywhere together, the three of us. Eddie drove us out in the mornings, dropping me off first, then Jeremy, before heading to work himself. At night, he'd pick up Jeremy from preschool, then swing by to get me. If there was still daylight left, we'd stop by the market together to buy groceries. Ordinary routines, ordinary love. We were one of countless families living quiet, simple lives. But that morning felt off. As I walked toward the elevator, I caught sight of Jeremy standing near the mover's new piano, eyes wide with fascination. Liliana crouched down beside him, whispering something in his ear. He nodded eagerly, laughing bright and sweet. Eddie was busy telling the workers to be careful. "Don't scratch her things. They look just like a happy little family, don't they?" The system cooed. A perfect match. Handsome man, beautiful woman. I couldn't help it anymore. Do I really look that bad? The elevator doors opened. I glanced at my reflection in the mirrored panel. Not bad looking. Dressed decently. What exactly about me disappointed the system so much? "Sophie Powell, you're missing something. You don't have that ethereal glow." I smiled faintly. "Oh, thank God," I said. "Because I'm human. I work as a doctor at a specialized clinic. We care for children whom the world often forgets, those touched by heaven, born incomplete, angels with broken wings. I never thought of them as sick. They simply live in worlds of their own. And really, who doesn't? Some people's worlds just exist beyond the reach of what we call normal." All morning, Robin sat quietly in the garden. I called his name a few times. He didn't answer. Today, he was a small mushroom soaking in sunlight. Robin has autism and cognitive impairment. He experiences the world in his own language, his own rhythm. Once, I crouched beside him until the sun dipped below the horizon. He suddenly turned to me and asked, "Did the sun tell you see you tomorrow, too?" I shook my head. No. The sun and I aren't friends yet. Every day after that, he asked me the same question. Day after day, sun after sun. Until one day, he didn't. He looked at me seriously and said, "Lonely little mushroom, I'll be your friend. I've done enough photosynthesis. I'm a big mushroom now. I can protect you." Robin walked toward me with both hands hidden behind his back. When he stopped, a small bunch of wildflowers appeared in front of my face. "Happy birthday," he said softly. "I meant to give them to you yesterday. But you didn't come." Then, with a grave sincerity that only children possess, he added, "Even though you're already a big mushroom now, I'll still protect you. Because you. His words faltered. Confusion clouded his eyes. I helped him finish the sentence. "Because we're friends." Robin blinked at me, half understanding, his lips shaping the word quietly. Friends. Friends. Then he wandered back to the tree. The sunlight filtered through the branches, falling on him in broken gold. In an instant, he became a little mushroom again, still and silent, basking in light. The system sighed. "What's the point of all this? Sophie Powell, you always waste your time on meaningless things. That little mushroom, your family. It's all hopeless. You're just lying to yourself. Tell me, why did you even choose this specialty? You could have made more in surgery. But some things can't be measured by money. When I look at Robin, I think of Eddie Martinez. I chose this field so that one day, Eddie could learn to see the world differently. The first time I met him, I stood in front of him, blocking his view. He shrank away, timid, sliding sideways to avoid me. I followed. He stepped back again. We danced that quiet, awkward shuffle until he had nowhere left to run. His eyes were red, wide, trembling. "Don't," he stammered. "Don't bully me." Back then, I didn't know what redemption meant. All I knew was, Eddie Martinez was heartbreakingly beautiful. I reached out my hand, just like the heroines did in novels. "I'm not here to hurt you," I said. "I'm here to take you home." The sun scorched the back of my neck, searing and alive. It reminded me that I was alive too. After a long pause, Eddie wiped his hand on his shirt and placed it in mine. "You won't hit me?" "No," I said softly. "I'm here to love you." Later I learned the truth. Behind that perfect face, Eddie Martinez carried deep social anxiety. Brilliant grades, flawless looks, but shy, withdrawn, silent. He was the kind of boy people picked on just because they could. Over time, the bullying only worsened, his fear turning into illness. And the only person who ever reached out to him was Liliana Miller. The day she left for another country, he cried harder than I'd ever seen anyone cry. After that, no one protected him. When I asked him why he'd given me his hand that day, he said, "Liliana told me that when someone reaches out their hand, it means they're inviting you into their world. And also asking to step into yours." Liliana once told him that reaching out wasn't only about pushing people away, it could also mean pulling someone closer. That joy was always braver than pain, and that we shouldn't turn away from something beautiful. "I think," I said once, "Liliana's a wonderful girl. White moonlight," I mused aloud, "is the kind of beauty that never fades, no matter how time passes." The system groaned. "You're not just love-brained. You're an idiot. Brain full of water. Maybe a good slap will knock it out." It wasn't a slap that followed, but a phone call. The teacher from Jeremy's preschool. "Mrs. Martinez, when Mr. Martinez picked Jeremy up, he forgot to bring his favorite teddy bear. I've set it aside for you. It's very precious to him. He might cry if he can't find it." That teddy bear. I'd sewn it myself. Like all children, Jeremy had struggled with separation when he first started school. He couldn't bear to be away from me. So I made him a bear to keep him company. "Now Mommy has turned into a bear," I told him. "And Jeremy's a big boy who'll protect Mommy, right?" It worked. Jeremy loved being my little hero. "Did they say where they were going?" I asked. "Do you even have to ask?" The system snapped. You've been robbed blind in your own home." That was ridiculous. They'd probably just gone to the amusement park. It had happened before. Eddie could be as childish as Jeremy sometimes. I didn't think much of it. If trust collapses, the world collapses with it. And my world, for now, was still filled with birdsong and spring light. My colleague handed me a stack of follow-up forms. I went door to door, ticking names off the list. By 4:30 that afternoon, I was standing outside the city's finest hotel. Just in time to see Eddie Martinez and Liliana Miller stepping out, one on each side of Jeremy. Jeremy had a lollipop in his mouth, grinning from ear to ear. It didn't matter that 2 streets and a sea of traffic separated us. Even with my mild nearsightedness, I saw them, clear as day. Liliana's gentle smile, Eddie's affectionate gaze, Jeremy's laughter bright and pure. The system clicked its tongue. Ah, the family outing took place at a hotel, huh? And they even brought the white moonlight along. How poetic. The world really is just one giant affair novel. I didn't go over. I finished my last home visit like nothing had happened. Still, their faces lingered behind my eyes. Eddie's warmth, Jeremy's joy. Without realizing it, my feet took me to the doorstep of Eddie's auto shop. Someone inside saw me and nearly dropped his wrench. "Hey, Mrs. Martinez. You're here." Eddie's not around. He's out on business. "Let me get you some water." I stood where I was. On his desk sat a framed photo of the 3 of us, our little family. Next to it, a single portrait of me, the frame edges worn from being touched too many times. Another employee came in from outside. "Mrs. Martinez. Looking for Eddie?" "Ben's not feeling well," he said. "Eddie took him to the hospital for an 4. Want me to call him for you?" I shook my head. "No need. I was just passing by. Just taking a look." A few minutes later, my phone rang. Eddie's voice, steady, careful, but with that familiar nervous edge I could always hear. "Babe, you went to the shop?" he asked. I was supposed to meet a client, but Jeremy came along, and we ended up having dinner out. Then Ben wasn't feeling well, so we brought him to the hospital. "Don't bother cooking for us tonight. We'll just get takeout." Jeremy's voice chimed in, cheerful and bright. "Yeah, Mommy. Don't miss me too much, okay? We're good. Bye-bye. Ben has to use the bathroom." Click. The call ended. The world really is a small place. I didn't miss a thing, the sigh of relief in Eddie's voice, nor the sly little smile playing at Jeremy's lips. And Liliana's soft compliment. "You two are amazing." The revolving restaurant upstairs gleamed like a slow-turning carousel. I followed them in, choosing a table a few rows behind. Eddie pulled out a chair for Liliana. Jeremy handed her a napkin. Then Eddie reached into his pocket and took out a bank card. Liliana tried to refuse, but he insisted. In the end, it was Jeremy who stuffed the card into her little purse, then leaned over and kissed her cheek. The system whispered, "Guess what card that was?" "His salary card," I murmured. "You're awfully calm. First time being betrayed." "No. Then you must just be used to it." The first time Eddie lied to me, I was 21. My family had gone bankrupt. Debts everywhere. My parents disappeared. I sold everything I could to pay off what was left. Moved into the university dorms. I thought about dropping out, working full-time to pay what we owed. But instead, I split my part-time income to help Eddie stay in school. He was smarter than me, better grades, but shy, terrible at socializing. And after all, the debt had been my family's. Eddie told me he'd earned a scholarship, said a company was sponsoring him. "They're really kind to me, Sophie," he said. "The money's enough for both of us to finish school. Just hang in there. Once we graduate, things will get better." He even showed me their chat logs, then handed me half of the living expenses. And I believed him. When the truth came out, he'd already dropped out. He'd quit school to sell cars. To pay my tuition. He was handsome. People flocked to him. Once, I saw him outside the showroom, away from the crowd, shaking, splashing cold water on his face. "Don't be afraid to talk to people, Eddie," I told him. "You can do this. Sophie's future is in your hands." He traded his future for mine. From selling cars to fixing them, to eventually owning his own dealership. He forced himself to become the man everyone sees today. Charming, composed, successful, gentle. But I know. All these years, for my tuition, for my family's debts. He paid with everything he had. He built his strength out of fear, his poise out of exhaustion. And he stood before me, a man who once trembled in crowds. Now the one who sheltered me from every storm. The second time Eddie Martinez lied to me was the year I gave birth to Jeremy. The placenta was in the wrong place, the umbilical cord was wrapped around the baby's neck, and the amniotic fluid was contaminated. Everything was critical. Through the haze of anesthesia, I heard the doctor calling for Eddie to come sign the consent form. In my mind, I played out 1,000 possible dramas, like the ones you see on television. The age-old question: save the mother or save the child? Eddie and I had talked about it before. I'd said, the child is the continuation of the mother's life. Save the baby. He'd said, a baby who hasn't been born doesn't count yet. Save the mother. We'd argued until I punched him twice. He'd pretended to agree, afraid I'd upset the pregnancy. Save the baby. While my mind spun with fear, the baby came into the world. Both of us lived. Just like that. We became a family of 3. Eddie took Jeremy for his first bath. The nurse giggled behind her hand as she spoke to me, eyes following him down the hall. "Your husband's adorable," she said. "When you were in labor, he was on his knees outside the delivery room, crying his eyes out. When the doctor came out to have him sign the risk consent, he didn't even read it. Before the doctor could speak, he shouted, 'Save her! Save my wife!' When I brought the baby out, he barely looked. Didn't even ask if it was a boy or girl. 'Wife first, child later,' she teased. He's so funny. These days there's no such thing as save one, lose one. We fight for both lives always." The third time Eddie lied to me, he had an accomplice, our son. It happened 6 months ago. I was abroad for a medical exchange program. Jeremy fell seriously ill. High fever. Then pneumonia. The 2 of them kept it from me for almost 2 weeks. When I got home, they were both thin and pale. I cried on the spot. And for the first time, I decided on a silent protest. Eddie told me, "Babe, I'll always be your strongest support, so you can chase your dreams freely." And little Jeremy, his voice hoarse from coughing, added, "Mommy should love herself first, then love me." The system's voice dragged me out of the memory. People change, Sophie Powell. Human love. It's always brilliant, but brief. My data shows that love lasting more than 3 years goes against human nature. The 7-year itch isn't a myth. It sighed. Love always turns to dust in the end. And the one who stays too long, always walks away bleeding. By the time night fell, Eddie and Jeremy finally came home. Through the door, I could hear them saying goodbye to Liliana Miller. Jeremy's voice was sweet and bright. "Bye, Aunt Liliana. See you tomorrow." He didn't ask for his teddy bear. It was as if he'd forgotten it entirely. That night, there was no bedtime story, no nightly cuddle. He hugged his blanket and stopped me as I turned to leave. "Mommy, starting tomorrow, I won't wait for you after work at the hospital anymore. Aunt Liliana will pick me up after school." Why? Was it something I'd done wrong? Jeremy looked down, fidgeting. "Mommy, the hospital's boring. Aunt Liliana said she'd teach me piano." "Mommy, I don't want to bother you while you're working." Bother me? Seeing his tiny figure waiting for me every evening had been the best part of my day. My exhaustion always melted away at the sight of him. "Okay," I said softly. "As long as you're happy, Jeremy." That night, Eddie still turned away from me. His lips brushed mine, a kiss that barely touched, and then he faced the wall. Outside, the streetlights never came on. The moonlight flowed through the window like water. The system whispered, "You still don't believe me, do you?" I didn't answer. It pressed on. Let's make a bet. There were only 2 weeks left until my wedding anniversary. The system wanted to gamble on it. That Eddie Martinez would betray me for Liliana Miller. And that Jeremy would wish she were his new mother. I didn't believe it. Jeremy Martinez never came to the hospital again. Even Eddie stopped showing up to pick me up after work. My co-workers teased me. "Hey, where'd your 2 little clingy ones go lately?" I smiled and said lightly, "They've got their own little secrets now." When I got home, I could already hear music drifting through the wall next door. The soft notes of a piano, and Liliana Miller's gentle voice teaching Jeremy how to play Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Through the door, I could hear Jeremy's laughter, carefree and bright. Eddie was in the kitchen, cooking dinner. On the table sat another fresh bouquet of roses. Ever since Liliana moved in next door, the roses had never stopped coming. She often came over for dinner. We'd sit around the table, chatting and laughing. Liliana would tell stories from her years abroad, her voice laced with nostalgia. The system sneered. "She's mocking you, calling you a small-town woman who's never seen the world." "She's just sharing her life," I said calmly. The system went silent for days, sulking. "You're hopeless. Sooner or later, that man of yours will be in her bed, and you'll still be smiling like a fool." "You think they're playing piano?" "They're rehearsing their duet." One night, Eddie surprised me by pulling me close, kissing me hard enough to bruise. "Why haven't you worn that perfume?" he asked. "You don't like it?" "No," I said. "I just forgot." He picked up the bottle and spritzed my neck. Smells so good. "It suits you." Then he leaned in again, kissing the same spot until I melted into him. We didn't sleep until dawn. The system muttered. Classic sign. A guilty man always overcompensates. In bed. "Where do you even learn this nonsense?" I asked. "Experience," it said smugly. 12 worlds worth of it. On our wedding anniversary, I took the day off. Eddie and Jeremy left early in the morning. At noon, I got a text message. From Liliana Miller. Room 888. Elite Hotel. "I have something very important to tell you." I didn't rush to go. The system did. "Oh no, she's baiting you. She wants you to walk in on them. You'll find something you can't unsee." I packed my bag, got in the car, and drove off. The system's voice trembled. "Maybe we should just go home. Pretend we never got the message. It's your anniversary, for God's sake. No flowers, no cake, but no betrayal either, right?" The city sped by in a blur outside my window. It had been 12 years since I'd come into this world. From 18 to 30. I was a mother now. "You've always wanted to prove that Eddie and Jeremy would fall for Liliana," I said quietly. "If you're right, if it's true, then by midnight, you can take me away. Isn't that what you want?" The system didn't answer for a long time. Not until I parked outside the hotel. Then, in a low voice it said, "I just don't want you to hurt. When faith breaks, it shatters everything." When Luna Whitelock fell for her male lead, it nearly broke me. We promised each other we'd finish our missions, then leave together. I was supposed to send her home. She wasn't dead yet. Her parents were waiting for her. In the real world, she's been in a coma for a year. She begged me to take her back, but I couldn't. Not without finishing the task. "Sophie Powell, don't hate me. It's not that I can't stand your happiness. I just don't want you to drown in false hope." When we reached room 888, the system whispered, "No matter what you see, it's okay. Once we leave, I'll protect you. You're my responsibility now. I brought you here. I'll take care of you for the rest of your life." I hadn't even knocked when the door burst open from the inside. A hand grabbed mine and yanked me in. Liliana Miller's face lit up. "Perfect. You're finally here. Where's the makeup artist? The stylist? The leading lady has arrived. Let's move." Both the system and I froze. Before I could react, people were bustling around me, fixing my hair, adjusting a glittering white gown. A wedding dress. The system's voice came out small. What kind of trap is this? A setup? A farewell feast? I looked down at myself. Lace, crystals, light shimmering off every thread. And in that moment, something inside me softened. I smiled. I think, I said quietly, this might be the surprise my big kid and my little kid planned for me. The system spluttered. What? A scam? A romantic con? Eddie Martinez gave me the wedding we never had. When we got married at 22, there had been no ceremony, no white dress, no diamond ring. We were poor, so everything was kept simple. Neither of us had many friends. We signed the papers, went home, and cooked a big dinner together to celebrate. The only luxury that day was the bouquet Eddie secretly bought. Dyed roses that cost $19.9. He cried that night. He told me one day, when he finally made money, he'd make it all up to me. Life moved fast after that. Repaying debts, starting a business, buying a car, buying a house. And when we finally had enough to plan a honeymoon, Jeremy decided he couldn't wait and came early. After he was born, there was no time left for romance. Life became bills, groceries, and the ordinary rhythm of home. I forgot, honestly. I was happy. I didn't care about fancy things. But Eddie remembered. When I was 18, I held out my hand and brought him home. At 20, he confessed to me, calling me an angel sent to love him. At 22, we married. He took out a loan to pay for my graduate school. At 24, we paid off our debts and started dreaming about the future. At 26, I nearly died giving birth, but fate was kind. We became an ordinary family of 3. The first years as parents were chaos, laughter and exhaustion tangled together. Jeremy grew little by little. And now, at 30, Eddie and I stood on the edge of another chapter. Eddie, in a black suit, walked toward me. His every step sure but trembling with nerves. He took my hand from Liliana Miller's and leaned close. "Sophie, baby," he whispered. "Thank you for being my wife." He led me down the aisle toward a dazzling stage. Robin, smiling wide, tossed petals along our path. Jeremy sat proudly at the piano, his tiny fingers playing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Eddie's palms were slick with sweat. He almost tripped over his own feet. Friends cheered and clapped from their seats. Robin finished scattering petals and tugged on my gown, his face solemn. "Big mushroom friend, you look so pretty today," he said. "You're the happiest big mushroom in the world." The ceremony was officiated by Liliana Miller herself, dressed in a soft pink gown that shimmered like morning light. Her voice was gentle as she asked, "Do you promise to love each other, for life and beyond?" I hadn't even finished saying I do when the doors burst open. A man came running down the aisle, breathless and wild. "No," he shouted. "I object. I want to marry the bride." "What?" I froze. Who still crashes weddings at 30? Then I saw him. The man I was supposed to redeem 12 years ago. The original male lead. My heart nearly stopped. But after seeing my face he kept running. Straight past me. And took Liliana's hand instead. "Sorry, my mistake," he said. "I don't want the bride. I want the officiant." I exhaled hard. Eddie's fist clenched beside me. Liliana, flustered, dragged the man off the stage. Just a small hiccup, a brief burst of chaos in an otherwise perfect day. We exchanged rings to thunderous applause. Eddie slid a beautiful diamond ring onto my finger. We toasted our guests, weaving between tables hand in hand. Robin carried the train of my gown like a proud attendant. And Jeremy followed, chin high, looking every bit the little gentleman. "Mommy," he said, "I'm the first kid in my whole class to go to my parents' wedding. Tomorrow I'm gonna brag about it." By the time the banquet ended, Liliana and Harry Baker still hadn't returned. As we passed the staircase, we overheard their voices. Harry sounded flustered. "It was a misunderstanding, okay? I bring you flowers every day, and you just hand them to someone else. My friend told me he saw you shopping for wedding dresses, with another guy. The whole venue was booked." How was I supposed to know you were helping someone plan an anniversary surprise? I thought you didn't want me anymore. Liliana. I've made up my mind. I want to get married, to you. I'm sorry I wasn't brave enough before. 3 heads, mine, Eddie's and Jeremy's, peeked around the corner, listening openly. Oh, and the system too. So, you knew about Eddie's surprise all along, didn't you? I didn't. But I'd had a feeling. While I focused on watching the scene unfold, Eddie was watching me. His gaze soft, lingering, unchanged after 10 years. I didn't need proof. I just believed in him. I believed in us. Harry Baker spotted me and suddenly shouted, "It's you! I know you!" His gaze was too intense, so fiery that Eddie instantly stepped in front of me. When I was 18, I saw you once, Harry said breathlessly. You were the bravest girl I'd ever met. You said if you loved someone, you'd take him home. It was because I saw your courage that day that I decided to cross the ocean to chase my own goddess. I didn't expect that after all these years, it would be seeing you again that made me brave once more. The system snorted. Well, isn't that poetic? You two were supposed to be a pair, remember? But life took a detour, and you ended up redeeming him anyway. Life is unpredictable. Who can say what's meant to be? I tightened my grip on Eddie's hand. Happiness, I thought, is about this moment. Before I could even ask, Eddie, like a kid desperate for praise, rushed to explain everything. Throwing me a proper wedding had been his dream for years. Babe, he said, eyes shining. Every girl dreams of walking down the aisle in a white gown. Even if you never said it, I knew you wanted it. You didn't bring it up, but I could never forget. The wedding had originally been planned for my 30th birthday. But things went wrong on Liliana Miller's end. Funds delayed, logistics tangled. So they pushed the date to our anniversary. The hotel visits? They were to check the venue. The dinner at the revolving restaurant? A rehearsal. Jeremy skipping his hospital visits? Piano lessons. For the ceremony. The roses? Not from Eddie to Liliana, but from Harry Baker to her. Liliana had teased him. Every girl loves flowers. They were from a coward, so I'm regifting them to you. Use them for love, not fear. The salary card? Eddie gave it to her for wedding expenses. Liliana was the main planner behind the surprise. The system still wasn't convinced. There are still too many loose ends. Before I could answer, Jeremy came running up with a beautifully wrapped box. Happy anniversary, Mommy. Inside was a box of cookies. Some shaped like bears, others like tiny flowers. Different from last time, the previous box was yellow. This one, pink. Mommy, these are special, he said proudly. I bought them with my own New Year's money. I smiled. Then why didn't you share the last batch with me, Jeremy's eyes widened. Because you're allergic to mango. You'd get sick. I asked Aunt Liliana to get you the strawberry flavor this time. The cookies were sweet and buttery, soft enough to melt. The system muttered. Fine. What about the teddy bear then? The little bear was tucked neatly into Jeremy's bed, with a tiny blanket over it. Mommy, you don't have to tuck me in anymore, Jeremy said softly. I'm a big kid now. You work so hard. I don't want you to be tired. My teacher said when kids grow up, moms get their freedom back. Mommy, I want you to be free. I lay beside him, wrapping my arms around his small body. Putting you to bed and telling you stories every night makes me happy, I whispered. To be needed, it's a kind of love too. When you need me, it feels like the whole world is blooming. Jeremy's eyes sparkled. Then I don't want to grow up. I just want Mommy with me. I smiled, brushing his hair back. Everyone grows up, sweetheart. But you can do it slowly. Jeremy hugged his teddy tight. Last time, my classmates spilled water on it, and I hung it to dry at school. I couldn't sleep all night. Mommy, I love you so much. I kissed his forehead. And Mommy loves you so much. When I returned to the bedroom, Eddie immediately pulled me into his arms. Babe, he murmured against my ear. You don't like that perfume, do you? I had Liliana buy it. I wanted to surprise you myself, but I was scared you'd say I wasted money. Tell me what you like, okay? I want you to lean on me more. I want to make enough to buy you everything you want. If I could, I'd buy the whole world and hand it to you. Silly man. The world can't be bought. My world was already full. With him and with Jeremy. When his hands grew impatient, I stopped him gently. Then tell me, I said, why have you been sleeping on your side lately, refusing to let me touch you? Eddie's eyes darted away. He looked guilty as a child caught lying, then leaned in for a kiss. I didn't move. He sighed. I hurt my shoulder at work. Got a huge bruise. If you saw it, you'd cry. And if you cried, I'd feel awful. Babe, I'm sorry. No more secrets. I promise. Then, like a teenager begging for forgiveness, he edged closer. I've confessed everything now. Can I have my kiss? The night slipped away too quickly. His voice murmuring against my skin, low and warm. Baby. Sophie, my love. The system never left. It still didn't trust that I'd be okay. It all feels too perfect to be real. Remember the male lead? One day, he bought Luna Whitelock an island and named it after her. Just because she wanted to watch the sunset. The very next day, he misunderstood her and locked her away there. Sophie Powell, human hearts change in a heartbeat. Love is the deadliest poison of all. I want to see you happy, but I'm afraid you'll drown in it. At least Luna Whitelock can go back to her world. You can't anymore. Because the day of the car crash, I died. I couldn't comfort the system, so I just let it stay, with me, watching my world unfold. Robin got much better. He started talking again, laughing sometimes. The hospital bustled with life and sorrow. Some patients spent everything to keep fighting, some gave up when they had nothing left, some recovered and went home, and some returned after relapse. My co-workers were kind. We laughed together, helped each other. But when promotions came around, we became quiet competitors, fair rivals. Eddie's car shop grew busy. He no longer had time to pick me up every day. But whenever he could, he came home early to cook. He'd learned so many new recipes that I'd lost count. He took over all the chores, too. Jeremy made new friends. One of them a sweet little girl. One night, he whispered shyly, Mom, I think I like her. Just a little. Liliana still dropped by for dinner. Now always with Harry Baker trailing behind her. Harry bribed Jeremy with candy to help plead his case. Every week, fresh flowers graced our dining table. Sometimes roses, sometimes lilies. On weekends, Eddie would take me to the revolving restaurant again. He'd pull out my chair. Jeremy would hand me a napkin saying, Mom, we practiced this. Aunt Liliana said it's gentleman's etiquette. Somehow, Liliana and I became close friends. Fairy and mortal. Friends, not rivals. Women aren't always born to compete for men's affection. We can simply be content, whole, radiant on our own. Love, I realized, is just an addition to life, not its foundation. To love yourself is the beginning of lifelong romance. Bloom freely, and the butterflies will find you. Liliana once said, I envy you, Sophie. You found a happiness so simple, it's pure. Harry, eavesdropping, had his eyes light up immediately, and before long, he was dragging us all into planning his proposal. Even a lifelong bachelor could finally crave a home. Sometimes, love is the cure for a childhood that never knew peace. I didn't tell Liliana that I envied her too. Because I didn't. I already had enough. There will always be someone living a life you envy, and someone envying the life you live. All that truly matters is living yours well. The day the system left, it said softly, Sophie Powell, I believe in love again. Human emotion is a mystery. I've run thousands of algorithms, and I still can't see its truth. I gave it a book before it left. Something on psychology, focused on Stockholm Syndrome. Stockholm Syndrome. When, under extreme stress, a victim develops emotional dependence, or even affection, for their captor. It isn't weakness. It's the brain's defense mechanism, its desperate way to survive. Luna Whitelock wasn't in love. She was sick. Love is not pain, or submission, or humiliation, or destruction. Love is warmth, happiness, confidence, dignity, and self-respect. I still remember the first time I met Luna. When she spoke of her parents, her eyes filled with longing. She said firmly, "I'll finish the mission. I'm going home." I told the system, "Please, give her a little time. A little patience. Her parents are still waiting for her. She has a home, one that hasn't given up on her." I never believed in fated lovers or destined romances. Everyone is the protagonist of their own story. No more, two women, one man, melodramas. No more redemption arcs that turn into betrayals. No more recycled tragedies. Write your own ending. Love yourself. 1,000 times over. Because love is the greatest magic in this world. Extra, to love him is also to love myself. Sophie Powell's perspective. I never mistook the male lead. I chose my own. Eddie Martinez. The first time I saw him, I recognized something of myself in his eyes. I was an orphan, sent to college on a stranger's generosity. We wrote letters back and forth, met sometimes to talk. I'd tell her my confusion. She'd use her wisdom to clear my path. We dreamed about the future together. In mine, she was always there. Before I got my college acceptance letter, she passed away. She hid it from me until the very end. When I brought my letter to show her, all I found was her urn. On the way home, I was dazed. Didn't even see the speeding car. Only after I died did I realize how much I still wanted to live. I had promised her I'd study hard, love the world, and love myself. Thankfully I met the system. And I met Eddie Martinez. His life wasn't so different from mine. Liliana Miller wasn't his lover. She was his light. The only person who ever listened to him, who told him to go outside more, to let the sunlight touch him. Liliana Miller really was a beautiful soul. Truthfully, I never knew how to redeem someone. And I don't believe anyone truly needs redemption. I just wanted to love Eddie Martinez. And love myself. I trusted him, the same way I trusted myself. I never told anyone, but there were times I was scared. Times I doubted myself. The system spoke with such certainty. And I'd lie awake at night, unable to sleep. Eventually, I figured it out. I still believed in Eddie Martinez and Jeremy Martinez. And I believed in Liliana Miller, too. Call it intuition. Or confidence. Even if one day they all stopped loving me, I would still love myself. I have a job. An education. A life plan that's mine. I never once thought about leaving with the system. This world isn't fake. I didn't come here to complete a mission. I came here to live. No matter what happens, I am Sophie Powell. And the person I love most is myself. Because only when you love yourself, can you truly love others. Extra. I am a system. I was born a system. No face, no body. Just a shadow. My existence was to travel between worlds, guiding hosts through their missions. I read the book Sophie Powell left for me. Then I went back, to Luna Whitelock. I hadn't abandoned her. I was just angry. Angry at myself. If I'd been stronger, she wouldn't have suffered so much. I could have sent her home long ago. I could tell Luna was happy to see me again. But she'd changed, so much. The girl I first met had become a ghost of herself. She was consumed by anxiety and love, her emotions tethered to every flicker of the male lead's mood. She wasn't herself anymore. And that was my fault. The story had always been absurd, and in trying to help her, I'd kept brainwashing her to finish the mission. My so-called good intentions had only made her sick, so I started helping her heal. It was hard, painfully slow, but beautiful in the end. Luna woke up. Little by little. She began to see again. The story ended, and the world no longer held her captive. When the male lead raised his hand to strike her, she slapped him first. Her defiance only fed his obsession. Just as he prepared to give her the lesson of a lifetime, I took her away. Before we left, I exposed every one of his crimes to the world. No world is beyond justice. I'd wanted to do that for a long time. The day Luna Whitelock went home, she hugged me tightly. She said, "You're the best system. Thank you for saving me." But I wasn't the one who saved her. She saved herself. I didn't want to be a system anymore. I asked to resign, to return to factory settings, to disappear forever. Because I still didn't understand the point of wandering through these little worlds. Was it redemption? Or destruction? My superiors listened and then asked me, "So what should we do instead?" "A self-rescue system." What? We'd help women who had endured years of domestic abuse find the courage to fight back with the law. We'd help girls who'd been disabled by accident rediscover confidence. We'd stand beside bullied students, handing them the filthy mop they used to clean floors, and letting them slap it across their bully's face. I agreed. And slowly, the world began to change. Bit by bit. Quietly, beautifully. I remembered who I was. I wasn't born a system. I was once human, with all the messy emotions that come with it. I snuck back to see Sophie Powell. The timid little girl who used to tug at my sleeve and call me Big Sister had grown up. The first time we met, she'd looked up at me and asked, "Big Sister, will you really sponsor me? Will you never abandon me?" It took me years to teach her the truth. That the only person who will never leave you is yourself.